friends, and welcome to ScreenVomit, the only movie podcast for normal people. I'm your host, Kayla. Here with me is my best pal, Kali.
Quack, quack, babies.
Today is a very special day because this is our 2-year anniversary episode. Can you believe?
What? Cool.
2 years.
Neat.
We're 2 years old today, and we are big babies. And to celebrate that, we have chosen a film that, well, I don't want to say the film is near and dear to our hearts, but stars someone near and dear to our hearts.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay. So the film we chose is the 2012 film Cosmopolis, which is written and directed by David Cronenberg, okay, who we've previously done his film Maps to the Stars on Pod a few months ago. Obviously, you know David Cronenberg. He did The Fly, he did Videodrome, among others. Yeah. And starring in this film is our boy, Robert Pattinson.
Ooh.
That's right, baby. The Pattin-stans are back.
I gotta tell you, what's been our track record with Pattinson recently?
Okay, so on this podcast, we have covered High Life, which we both loved. Great movie. Lighthouse, which is, I think, a lost episode. I don't think that ever came out, actually, but we did do an episode on Lighthouse.
And great movie.
Great movie, yeah. Sure. Devil All the Time, which I thought was pretty good, and you hated.
Yes, bad movie.
And we did Maps to the Stars, which I loved.
Fine. I remember thinking it was all right.
I think that's it. Am I missing any?
No, I think I'm...
Oh, Good Time. We did Good Time as well, which we both loved.
Okay,
yeah.
So okay, it's been great. I think somewhere in between Devil All the Time, maybe between Maps to the Stars and now, I watched Eclipse. I think that's the second Twilight movie. And I think, because I'm having, especially... Look, I'm not a proud Pattin-stan right now.
You're feeling some Pattin-shame.
I got a little Pattin-shame right now.
Because you've only recently partaken in the Twilight movies for the first time.
Yes.
Which also, should be said, this is his first movie past the Twilight movies. So,
Cosmopolis is?
Yep. An interesting juxtaposition for you to be in.
Yeah.
All right. Also in this movie, we have Queen Juliette Binoche, who was also in High Life that we said we did on the pod.
Yeah.
We have Sarah Gadon, who was in Black Bear that we just did, and she was also in Maps to the Stars. So we've got a full swing of people who have been in other movies we've already done on the pod.
Huh.
Paul Giamatti, who is most famous for being in Big Mama's House. And Sideways.
Big Fat Liar. The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Kevin Durand, who is in Lost and 3:10 to Yuma, and also most famously Big Mama's House 2.
Okay.
We have Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek. That was cool to see her in there. Jay Baruchel, who is a Judd Apatow boy, who's in Knocked Up. He is in Undeclared. Also in 4 episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Okay.
Also the voice of Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay, never seen. And lastly, that I'm going to name, we have Samantha Morton, who was in Synecdoche, New York, which is a movie I just talked about last episode, or 2 episodes ago. That's all for cast. We also have, though, the score of this movie was composed by Howard Shore, who did the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies.
Oh.
And it was him with Metric, the band Metric.
Oh.
And most of the awards that this movie has won were for the score, so... I just thought that's pretty cool. I love Metric, so.
I saw them open for the Smashing Pumpkins recently.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
I've only seen them once, and it was at Riot Fest, I think like 6 years ago or so.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah, they rock. Love them. All right, so what's our critic scores?
Cricket scores Rotten Tomatoes, 65%.
Yeah, rough. Okay.
Common Sense Media,
The fuck?
4 out of 5 stars. And
Google users?
Google users? 73%. We are all over the board here.
Who knows what to think about this movie? Certainly not anyone online. Okay.
It's not terrible. We know that.
I don't know. Like, 65 is pretty bad.
If you use the imperialist fascist A, B, C, D, F method.
Yeah. I think that's an F, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're a freaking teacher / narc. All teachers are narcs.
They work for the government.
Yeah, they work for the fucking government.
Sorry, we don't make the rules.
Watch the trailer?
Yeah, let's watch the trailer.
Oh my god! The completely wrong vibe of the movie. Not at all what the movie is.
Oh my god, I'm crying.
Holy shit.
That trailer song.
I'm sorry. I just the other day listened to the Relaxer episode and we go off at how good the trailer is.
Yeah.
This is a contender for just as, like, maybe the second best trailer of all time.
Oh my god. It's killed me. I'm truly crying.
The movie is like...
That song is so funny.
The movie's very slow and dialogue driven, and like, oh my god, if you didn't know what it's about, like, you'd think it's an action thriller, like a fucking balls to the wall, 100 miles an hour.
Like that movie, what's that movie? Oh,
Speed?
Fuck, never mind, I can't think of it anymore.
Speed.
No, I was thinking about the one with the guy who's the transporter guy, but where he has like a heart condition, like if his heart... Crank.
Crank rocks.
They play it like it's like Crank.
Yeah, it's this... Oh my god. Like, we'll get into it, but seriously, this movie is just talking. So much of it is just talking.
Yeah. Oh my god, I haven't laughed that hard in a minute. And laughter, not their intention, I don't believe.
No!
I maybe should warn up top anyway that I was in a chuckly mood today. I've been laughing at everything. Not that that's news, really, but...
This trailer, no.
That was fucking funny.
In true to myself form, I just watched the movie, like, I just finished it an hour ago, and it's nothing like
the opposite of
the complete opposite.
Couldn't be more opposite.
No,
than the trailer just showed it.
Like, the score isn't even like that. The score isn't like...
No, not at all. 2 seconds after I say how cool it is that, like, Metric and that other guy, like, did the score that's so cool for this movie, then they come in with this shit.
It has to be, like...
It's like knockoff Trent Reznor shit.
Yeah. It has to be, like, the studio or, like, someone...
I'm dying.
Just, like, it can't be Cronenberg-made cut trailer or anything.
No way.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, I have 6-pack abs now from laughing so hard, which is a huge achievement for me. So, yeah, let's just start off with the basics. This movie is based on the novel of the same name by who I saw called legendary U.S. writer, although I don't know any of his other books, Don DeLillo. DeLillo? I don't know how you say it, I guess.
Sure.
So it's based on this book, and it's known as being an incredibly faithful adaptation of the book. So it's like basically is the book.
Okay.
And David Cronenberg adapted it to screenplay in 6 days. So there was no,
Cool.
not a ton of time spent on, finessing or anything like that. This is set in the period of time that Occupy Wall Street was going on in New York.
Sure.
It's set in New York. Although the book was written in like 2003, but they set this in during that. Yeah, so this was, like I said, Robert Pattinson's first role after Twilight, and boy, did every single thing I read about this movie say, oh, this isn't for your Twilight freaks.
Okay, cool.
If you like Twilight, you're not going to like this.
You know what?
Why do we even need to bring up Twilight right now?
Yeah. On some level, like, I get the need. I'm sure everyone knows that by the end of Twilight, Robert Pattinson fucking hated it.
I think the entire time, probably.
We all know he wanted to distance himself, but
Yeah.
just don't talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, these are totally different universes comparing Cronenberg films to Twilight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these are not meant to be anywhere near the same thing.
Totally.
Just leave it out of here. So goofy.
Very smart move by Pattinson to do this, though. I would say, like, yeah, you want to no longer be associated with Twilight. If you can get a Cronenberg movie, that's something to show for yourself. That's good.
Yeah, and I thought, like, just from what I read, like, it seemed like he wasn't sure if he could succeed in the type of films like this. Like, I think this is more like stuff that he likes, you know?
Yeah.
So he was feeling wary of his talent or skill at being in these sort of things, and getting cast in this movie sort of proved to himself that he was worthy, you know.
Sure.
And since then, we've gotten so much RP content that rocks. So
Absolutely.
you know, I'm happy.
He's only
for
gotten
him.
better with time.
In some ways.
Yes. Oh yeah, that. And only in some ways.
I mean, we do stan, but the first choice that I think that we're both gonna stan and laugh about is his accent in this movie.
Yep.
As we know, RP refuses to go to a dialect coach ever, and I would say similar to his character in Maps to the Stars. Actually, he is about 50% Boston accent,
Yeah.
50% normal. Or like a different American accent.
Yeah,
And,
just
with
like
no continuity there.
throwing for like the East Coast and just getting to like, I don't know, Eastern Ohio.
But every now and again, he'll have a couple lines that sound super Boston.
So super Boston-y, yeah.
His guy is supposed to be in New York. So, like, I don't think that... I mean, probably similarly to how, like, there are, 20 different English dialect, like British dialects or whatever, or,
Yeah.
like, British accents. I couldn't tell you what's what or with the difference or anything. It's probably, I would imagine, similar to them thinking about over here, like Boston and New York, like, does he know the difference? I don't know, you know, as far as accents go.
I don't think I could do... I'm not even going to try the accents.
No.
I tell you, I could not do... If you told me on the spot, like, difference between New York and Boston accent,
I don't think I can do it, but I think I could tell if people were doing it.
Boston. Beanpan. The Celtics. The Bruins.
That's not even an accent. You're just being normal.
The Pats.
You're just naming Boston things in an Indiana accent. Similar to what RP has done. So at the beginning, he's looking pretty cool, too. He's got some shades.
You think he looks cool?
And I think he looks cool ass. Like, he looks cool ass and cool are two different things. He looks cool ass like he's trying hard to look cool, much like how the song in the trailer was sounding. I do have to say, though, especially once he takes off his glasses later, I think that this movie may be the peak cutest RP's ever looked, possibly. I think. What do you think? Yeah, I don't typically find him to be very cute. I think he kind of looks like an alien, but in certain parts of this movie, I was like, he's maybe a little cute.
I think, look, I know you're going to think this is ironic. This is not ironic. Lighthouse, he looks outstanding.
I don't know.
Just the mustache?
Well, maybe.
Love it.
You're more attracted to masculinity than I am, I think.
Yeah.
And he's a little more baby-faced in this one.
Yeah.
So, that tracks. That tracks for us.
Yep. All right. And moving on.
Anyway, I thought he looked cute in this movie at certain points.
We should assess the cuteness of actors more often. No, I think we do it enough. I'm thinking about it now. We do it literally every episode.
Yeah, we do. I feel weird about it sometimes because, like, I don't want to be, like, judging people's physical appearance. I kind of think physical appearance is mostly irrelevant. But also, I don't know. If people are hot, I think it should be noted. So
yeah, I agree.
So what do you do there? I don't know.
We're taking in an audio visual medium. The visuals matter.
Yeah, they do. And some people got pretty good visuals.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that he does in this movie is get in this limo, right? So the majority of this movie takes place inside this limo with other characters kind of popping in and popping out.
Yep. My third note is this movie just our Pat having dialogue in car for 2 hours and
vampires
close.
and cars getting rich?
Yeah.
Spin-off show.
Oh, man. Did any of this dialogue matter?
Okay, I'm going to get to that.
Yeah.
Well, just to finish setting up the limo thing.
Oh, sure.
Setting up the story, he's filthy rich and wants to get a haircut across town. So he's in the limo. That's kind of the whole movie takes place over this one day of him trying to get a haircut across town. So there's the setup. Then, yes, most of the dialogue in this movie is pretty cold and emotionless. It's kind of filled with a lot of jargon and business talk, and also likewise, a lot of the characters that we meet in the limo don't really have any discernible personality or relevance to the world. And when I was watching this, okay, so maybe I should just say up top, I guess, get this out. I found this movie took a lot more brain to watch than I have to give, I think.
I respectfully disagree with your assessment.
Well, I just found, there's so much dialogue, tons of dialogue, loads of dialogue.
I do want to say,
mostly irrelevant.
When I say I disagree with you, I don't mean you don't have enough brain. What it demands, it does not compensate for with reward, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that.
You did put in the time. Like, I know how you watch movies. You write down lines, and I wish I would have written down some of the lines because they're insane. I think knowing it was adapted from a book and probably a lot of the dialogue is ripped from a book makes a lot more sense. If I read this, I think it would be more interesting because there's things like characters repeating lines or asking incredibly blunt questions like, I want you to tell me one thing. And then someone says, I will tell you one thing. The one thing. They talk like fucking Perd Hapley from Parks and Recreation.
There's just like a lot of words and most of them are meaningless. But if you're trying to watch this with a critical eye and absorb everything that they're saying and pay attention to everything that they're saying, I think you just can't. I mean, most of it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they're throwing so much at you, I guess is kind of what I was saying. And I think that we're truly agreeing, even though we're just saying it in different ways.
Yes, I agree with that.
So when I watched this, I did find it pretty taxing to watch.
Agreed.
But I guess also I'll go ahead and preemptively agree with Kali that this movie felt like 100 hours long.
Look.
But
I know it sounds like we're fucking impulsive, goldfish-brained babies. Like, oh, we can't listen to dialogue, like really pay attention to character development through dialogue. The most base human, like however you want to like label it as artistic or whatever, or profound. But it's just everything they present you with, you're just kind of like, okay, sure.
So here's the thing. So that was my experience watching it. But since then, I've had time to... So I watched this a few days ago. I've had time to sit on it, think about it. I've also read a bunch of stuff, etc.
Yeah.
And I think I understand better now what was trying to be portrayed. I can kind of see it a little better than I could just watching it. So I at least now get what they were going for. I'm pretty sure. But that doesn't still mean that I liked it any better.
Yeah.
I think, that being said, I think at the beginning of this movie, what they're trying to portray here, I do think most of the dialogue really is inconsequential. It doesn't mean anything, it doesn't matter. What they're trying to portray is the sort of lack of humanity and the lifelessness among the absurdly rich, which he is, and like the banality of the types of jobs that they have and how these people are boring and robotic and just have they're so rich they no longer have emotions even, you can't fear anything, you can't be excited about anything because you have so much money, you can just fix anything or have anything you want at any time. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what they're trying to portray towards the beginning of the movie with all this useless dialogue and these emotionless people just saying so many words that mean nothing.
They're basically talking about investing and speculating in foreign currencies.
Yeah, so I was so perplexed by the dialogue that was going on that I turned on subtitles and just started Googling some of the words that they were saying.
Oh my God,
I was like, what the fuck are they even talking about? And yeah, it's all foreign currencies. He has some kind of job that has to do with the price of foreign currencies or whatever. Nobody cares.
So, no one gives a fucking shit. And that's the worst part of it is like these motherfuckers who like deal with and they even bring this organization up, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which is a criminal fucking organization that everyone involved with should be blanked. They're so boring and it's so dull, but everything they're doing is so fucking greedy and does not create anything useful for people. And it creates so much fucking misery what they do. But it's so boring that no one wants to fucking give a shit about it.
So I read this line from a New York Times review. Well, first I should say, by the end, I think there is like a message overall, and there is transition to that message. But just kind of on what we're saying, they were saying that these banalities, which here, when you're listening to all this dialogue, are accompanied by glazed eyes, are also sort of to the point that the world is burning and all that some of us can do is look at the flames with exhausted familiarity. So... we know this. It's like we already know that rich people are soulless and...
I think this movie is more prescient in 2012 when it came out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was as much of a... I mean, Occupy Wall Street had obviously happened or was taking place. So there was, like, some stirrings, like some of the first major stirrings of the proverbial left since, like, basically 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2021... yeah, there are fucking memes about it.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So it doesn't...
so you do kind of have to look at this with 2012 eyes as well.
Yeah.
It's very of the moment.
But even then, it's just like, you can deliver this message in a more interesting way.
Yeah. So next in the movie is when he just pops out of his limo and gets into a taxi with a woman.
This shit like this happens the entire movie. And... I tell you what, by the first time I was just like, fine, whatever. I know this is going to happen again.
That we don't know who any of the characters are or anything about them or why they're there or what they're doing.
He's just going to show up. Boom. He's in. You never see him get out of the car. You just, boom, he's in somewhere. Well, you do for this first one, obviously. But like later on in the movie, he's just, he's in a store. He's over here. He's over there.
So we find out later that this woman is actually his wife. But we don't know that now. What she says is, I'm bad at geography and I learn things by asking the taxi drivers where they come from. Yeah. And he says they come from horror and despair. So he's kind of equating people with, so-called lower class jobs with like horror and despair. And those are nasty people. What are you doing hanging around them, kind of?
Yeah, he generally loathes the poor. Yeah.
And they go and get breakfast together. It's basically just him begging her for sex.
Oh my God. It is stupid. He goes, have you eaten yet? She's like, no, I haven't eaten yet. And he goes, I am hungry. I want something thick and chewy. That's like gross. I hate this.
He is a little perverted, pretty sexually pressuring her through the whole day, really. But here in this first scene was a little shocking to me. Just coming from, well, I guess we did recently do a movie where he raped somebody, but I don't know. It was a little nasty.
Yeah, I found it annoying. At that point, I was already... The dialogue was so thick.
Yeah.
That you just having to wade through it. And I subtitles on immediately.
Yeah.
And when you read it, you're just like, why? You just said this. Why would you say the exact same thing again? Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of these ladies says, I don't understand this, like 6 times in their conversation. Insane.
I do think that there's an interesting way to look at what's going on here. is that it's not as apparent this early in the movie, but the more that it goes on, the more you see. I kind of think the entire movie is sort of an examination between the relationship between rich people and their own humanity. So in this sort of aspect, I mean, mainly what they're discussing is business, money, wealth, things like that. But at the same time, their own physical body keeps interrupting with its needs, with food, sex, sweat, physical health. You know, those things keep interrupting their kind of cold and meaningless conversations. So it's kind of like, how human are they? What defines humanity, you know? Is it just having bodily functions, or is it something more? And we do see throughout the movie, he has breakfast, lunch, and dinner in this movie. He has sex twice, you know? Like, these things keep coming up, these physical demands. So I think that's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
I agree. I think that's a really good way to look at it as a whole. Mm-hmm. Top to bottom, it paints an interesting picture.
And I do think that most of the things that are interesting about this movie are top to bottom things and less beat to beat things.
Yeah. I just wrote all the subjects down. Like, this movie is about life, death, money, masculinity, possession, humanity. Mm-hmm. Just these big, huge topics. Mm-hmm. It's all subtext, mostly.
Yeah. And I think one of the first interesting characters that enters the limo is, of course, Queen Juliette Binoche.
Yep.
And they bang.
That's the first thing we see that they're doing, right?
Yeah, I think, she's introduced by them banging. This was the first instance, but we covered Maps to the Stars first. So this will be the second time we've had RP having limo sex. Third time we've had him having car sex on the pod.
Oh my god.
Just interesting.
Yeah.
The boys stay getting busy. And he also delivers the line, "I'm a world citizen with a New York pair of balls." Shut
up.
To hear Robert Pattinson talk about his balls, strange.
Buddy, you do not have chest hair.
It just seems
sorry,
so...
sweetie.
It just seemed so unnatural to me.
It was like, I buy it helps, again, context, like, you know, we have more faces for billionaires like Elon Musk, Bezos. We know they're fucking wieners. We know they're like shrimpy little wieners, so it makes sense that, like, RP fits that mold. But then to, like, briefly shift gears into Tony Soprano. He does it a couple times, like, shifts into Tony Soprano. He's like, oh, my big pair of balls. I gotta get my fucking rocks off. I gotta fucking...
But you don't think those guys are like that? Those guys are like that. Elon Musk and what's his head, like, they're like that. Is it cool when they're like that? No. It's not cool at all. It's dorky as fuck. But people are like, well, you're rich, so I guess we'll just deal with this.
We'll deal with it, but you're not Tony Soprano.
No. But I'm certain that they have tried. And failed.
Yeah. Well, me too. Oh my god. Okay, so the conversation about do you remember what Arpat and Juliette Binoche talk about post-coitus?
I got like 3 things.
Oh, you got 3 things.
Well, she's the one who reveals that he's married to that girl from earlier.
Yeah.
So they talk about that and how he's like, whatever, committing adultery.
Yep.
They talk about how they're both billionaires. And they talk about the Rothko paintings.
Oh my god, yes. They are talking about buying stuff.
Yeah.
I really just rolled my eyes a bunch during this conversation.
They're talking about these Mark Rothko paintings. He's a famous painter. So Juliette Binoche says that some of the paintings are up for auction or up for sale or whatever. And Robert Pattinson, instead of wanting to just buy some of these paintings, he wants to buy the entire Rothko chapel, which is a just chapel full of these paintings in Texas. He wants to buy the entire chapel and put it inside his apartment.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I don't want just like the normal rich people stuff that anybody could have. I want the whole chapel.
Yeah.
The world doesn't need this. I need this. Give me the thing that I want. And he's very insistent.
He's very insistent, even to the point where they do some pretty, I don't know, for a movie that's very much about subtext, this was a little too, like, on the nose, I think. But he was saying something like, well, if I can buy it, it's mine. And Juliette Binoche is like, well, shouldn't it belong to the community? Like, have you ever heard of community good? And he just is insistent, like, if I can buy it, it is mine. But he's just talking about just wanting to impose himself so much on the world. Again, like, I get the 65% because I was half in. Like, I'm like, okay, this is the subtext I'm interested in. It's the text I have the problem with.
And there's so much text.
So much.
Also, in this scene, we see the limo windows go from being pitch black to letting in the outside. So he has some kind of tech in the windows. I also thought, so everything coming in through the windows is clearly like CGI'd, green screened, or whatever it is. And poorly, I think. And I felt the same effect from when we watched Maps to the Stars. I also mentioned it in that episode that, like, a lot of the background seemed weirdly green screened or CGI'd, and I didn't really understand why that was true and why it was so bad.
It's the post-2010 Cronenberg effect.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be like a stylistic choice since he's done it in at least 2 movies.
Yeah.
But it's not good. So I don't understand why it's happening, and it's not, I feel like it can't be a budgetary issue. This was like a $20 million movie, so I don't know, but it's just a strange choice, I think.
Yeah, it didn't look incredible. I don't know.
So, I mean, they just keep throwing things out, like RP needs extra security, the president's in town, there's some celebrity who's having a funeral. Like, a lot of things seem to be going on in this city at once while they're trying to get across town. So that's kind of why it's taking so long for them to get across town. And I think the next person who gets in the car is the chick from Schitt's Creek, who I was excited to see. I haven't really seen her in anything else. You don't watch Schitt's Creek. She is one of the main cast members. She's not in the family, but she runs the hotel.
No, not in Schitt's Creek in the movie.
Oh. She has, like, dark hair. She was, like, jogging. She's, like, sweaty.
Oh, yes. Oh, this leads to a pretty funny bit.
Yeah, so she gets in the car, and then the doctor comes up to the window. And so, as we said, like, this whole movie, everybody's using so many words, so much jargon. They're fast talking. We had no fucking clue what they're talking about. And this guy comes up to the window and says, "Hi, I'm Dr. whatever. I'm your doctor for today." And they say to him, like, whoa, speak slowly, speak clearly, we can't understand you. Which is, like, so funny because he's, like, the only person in this entire movie who's been using, like, plain English. So I thought that was a good bit.
Yeah. Hey, what the fuck? He's talking with some strange accent.
Yeah.
He's just saying his title?
And so I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, he gets in the limo as well and starts doing a physical exam on RP. And we get to see topless RP, which I feel like we don't ever see, really.
Not often. Not that I can think of.
I can't think of a single time. He probably was topless in part of Twilight.
Probably.
But other than that, I can't think of another time I've seen him topless.
No.
In a movie,
We also find out he gets a physical... Okay, if he gets everything that we see him get every day... That can't be good. But
and what is it that we see him get?
He gets a fucking colonoscopy.
Or he gets a prostate exam.
A prostate exam. I
think there's a difference.
Yes, there is. But every day?
It's a pretty extensive prostate exam.
It goes on for a couple minutes, and he gets horny as fuck while he's doing it.
Well, who wouldn't? Got a couple fingers up there?
And he is face-to-face with who we're led to believe is some kind of business associate. Then they're basically just like, oh, why haven't we ever fucked?
Yeah, and the prostate exam goes on for, so long. Several minutes. And they're... RP and this chick are maintaining conversation the entire time, and in the background you continue to hear, like, squishing macaroni noises.
In his face, like, Pattinson is, like, shooting blood to his head and just like, why don't we ever thought about being in love before? Oh, God. It was so... Look, you know what? I already respect it. It was
Incredible
it's
choice.
Funny.
It is
fucking funny.
And this chick also stays sweaty the entire time she's in the car as well. It seemed like she was maybe like out for a jog or something when she got into the car.
She kept saying she was out for a jog, and then our Pat criticizes that she goes jogging. Just a weird, like, throwaway line where he's just like, you and your he calls it Judeo-Christian jogging.
Does he?
Yeah, what the fuck?
After a certain point, I think a lot of the dialogue just completely washed over me.
Understandable.
Yeah, it was hard to even discern what's going to be something that I need to know for later and what can I just let go because there's just was so much going on.
Yes.
But in this prostate exam also needs to be noted that he has an asymmetrical prostate because that comes up probably 3 more times.
Cool.
Okay, so next is when he goes to lunch with his wife and he's again trying to get her to have sex. And while they're at the restaurant, we get these guys running in with a bunch of rats who are yelling, "A specter is haunting the world." Here in a minute, when he's back in the limo, we see a full-on protest going on, people marching in the streets with rats, people fighting, and on a screen there, we also see "A specter is haunting the world, the specter of capitalism,"
yes.
Which is, of course, a take on the opening line of the Communist Manifesto, "A specter is haunting Europe, the specter of communism." Obviously, your boy, Karl Marx.
We love him.
So, yeah. What, does that mean they're trying to get rid of capitalism? I think.
Yeah. Again, like, looking at it in context of when it came out, it is just kind of a take on Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't quite strike for me. I thought this would be interesting, because I knew from, like, reading, like, brief descriptions, I knew that, like, a riot took place.
Uh-huh.
And the riot really just plays in the background.
I think part of what we're supposed to glean from this is how separated he is from the rest of the world and how protected he is inside of his, precious limo and inside of his financial security, that his needs and his problems are so separate from what the needs and problems of a normal person are. And that even when he's inside his limo, when the doors are closed, you don't even hear the outside. He's completely separated from the needs and struggles of the rest of the world and completely unaffected by it.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what we're supposed to get from this.
Yeah, it's a great message, but it's the same message, I think, delivered in a better way in the show Arrested Development, where Lucille says, "It's a banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?"
That's all we needed in this whole movie.
Yeah, like that line, hilarious, and yeah, that's the point. Is like, rich people are incredibly detached.
Yeah,
they have no idea how much you spend on groceries. They have no idea how much we paying our bills. They have no idea how expensive it is to be poor.
And they think $1,400 is going to be enough money to make you last for 10 months. Yeah. So during this riot, or whatever you want to call it, protest, the limo is also tagged to hell and beat the fuck up. Destroyed on the outside, but internally still operating.
Yeah.
And next scene, he is, again, having sex. He's doing sex. Maybe one of the most intense sex scenes I've seen him do, I think.
Yeah,
he practically eats a whole titty. And I've never seen that from this boy.
He's face to boob.
It was a cool scene.
Yeah, this was a more entertaining scene than some of the others. Well, no, it went on forever, and...
It did go on forever. And there's more of just, like... There's been a credible threat to your life, and we're like, do we even care? Good, kill him,
Oh, you're my head security's wife? Oh, does that matter? Oh. His job is to keep me safe. Again, it was just a 50% moment. Like, I could see it being done pretty coolly, but he says, shoot me with your taser so I can feel something that I've never felt before. And it's like, again, the subtext is just cooler than the text.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a rich person would turn to BDSM because...
just to feel something.
To feel something that they don't naturally feel. They don't naturally feel submissive. And so it subverts their daily expectations, kind of thing. Like, that makes sense, but I don't care who her husband is, or whatever.
Yeah. And speaking of husbands, the next scene is him meeting his wife for dinner.
Yeah.
So again, bodily function taking over. But so in this scene, he reveals to his wife that he has made some sort of bad business decision and therefore has lost all of his money somehow.
Yes.
And so his wife is like, look, I'll help you out financially, but I think it's pretty clear that our relationship is over and we're never going to have sex.
Yeah, that was the other thing. They've been married for weeks and they never
Couple
had
weeks.
sex?
She also didn't know that he had blue eyes. So they're married and she doesn't know what color his eyes are?
You think they at their fucking wedding? I don't know. No sunglasses at his wedding?
I don't know. That's why it's like, what's going on here? Like, I think in the first time that he tries to beg her to have sex, they also sort of allude to that there was a prior time that they at least fooled around.
Yeah.
And want to continue that. But she seems so disinterested in him. It almost seems like sort of an arranged setting, an arranged marriage or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trying to keep the money in the family.
Just weird.
Yeah. So now he's lost all his money. And I think this is the point when we start to see a turn in his humanity and how much humanity he has. Because up until now, he's been so separated from humanity, from emotion, driving around in his fancy limo, literally cordoned off from the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
But the more the movie goes on from here and the more money he loses, we start to see his humanity and his emotions poke through. So the next thing that happens is that his friend comes in the car and tells him that his musician friend died. And this is the celebrity funeral we've been hearing about the whole movie. And I think this is the first time we see him have an emotional reaction to anything.
Yeah.
Because he starts crying. They're like mourning together. They hug. So he's starting to become more human, maybe. And the more the movie goes on, I think the more intense these, so-called human moments become.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more fallible he becomes as well, and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. We start to see him actually interact with people around him more. Mm-hmm. Like we've seen him talk to his head of security throughout the movie, but not really any other of his... his driver.
No, and we start to get, we're like over an hour in now. Later on we'll get history about his family from like his barber. Yeah. And we'll see that he suddenly is able to be hurt. And, those just aren't aspects that we've seen of him up until this point. Yeah. And the next thing that happens is he gets a pie in the face, which is maybe the first time that we see him be physically harmed, I guess. I don't know if harmed is the right word, but, assaulted.
It's an embarrassment.
Yeah, definitely. So he's feeling shame and embarrassment and vulnerability. Yeah. It's like finally something from the outside has touched him for the first time, physically.
Yeah, and he's like, there are, a handful of paparazzi around, and he's just swinging at them. Like, it's chaos. He does not, he's used to so much control that he can exert. And it's just gone at this point.
Yeah. And this pastry assassin is inspired by an actual man who was known as the custard pie anarchist.
Amazing.
Noel Godin, who's a Belgian anarchist who's been regularly pieing people in positions of power since 1969. And his victims include the president of France, Nicolas Sarkozy.
Cool.
One of France's most well-known TV anchors. Cool. Bill Gates. And famous director Jean-Luc Godard.
Also cool, because he's fucking sketchy as fuck, right?
I have no idea. Okay. But if you say so, sure. Yeah, so this man's gone around pieing people in positions of power for decades now.
Look.
So this pastry assassin was based on him, and that's sick.
If anyone wants to prank me by throwing a pie in my face, I would not be mad, if you know what I'm saying. I got a sweet tooth.
Throw a pie in my belly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first time that something on the outside of his world that he's not been in control of has physically touched him and made him feel something, anything but something bad in particular. Yeah. We're over an hour into this movie now. It's finally starting to pick up some steam here.
A little bit.
He takes his
head of security.
He takes his weapon. He's like, oh, look at this. It's a cool weapon. How's it work? It's voice activated, makes the head of security say the voice activated code
Yeah.
to let it gas up, and shoots him dead.
Boom. What? Huh?
And so he's slowly like breaking down the layers that have protected him since he's been rich. You know, he's starting with, his money first, and then his wife, and now his security. And later we'll see him get rid of the car as well. So just going layer by layer, getting these things out of the way.
Yeah, there's not a ton of violence in this or gore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is Cronenberg, and he always puts just a little in.
Yeah.
If not goes, full fly. But there's a scene earlier in the movie where, like, on his iPad or whatever, he's, like, looking at the news, and there was an attack on the head of the IMF. And the dude is, like, stabbed in the face or in the eye repeatedly.
Yeah.
And, like, boom, that's it. And then, like, to this, it's the same, just, like, kind of comes out of nowhere, very graphic, but for a very short period of time.
Yeah. And it's pretty emotionless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh, weird. But,
Yeah.
you know what? I was glad we got something moving.
Yeah. Like, finally, now we're cooking.
Exactly.
So it's, getting towards the evening. He finally makes it to the barbershop that's across town. And we find out he's come to this specific barbershop because this man seems like he's been cutting his family's hair for a century, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So, he's telling stories about his dad and all kinds of stuff. Absolutely fucks up RP's hair,
Oh,
which
my
is
God.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah. He wasn't meaning to. He tried his best.
Sort of. I feel like even when you're trying, you don't end up with any shape like that.
Well, RP did leave the haircut
He did, but it still was like, it was pretty chopped up. It was pretty a mess. Yeah. What?
Sorry, I'm pro barber on this situation. I think I blame RP for the bad haircut.
And he comes out of the barber shop with not only an asymmetrical prostate, but also an asymmetrical haircut.
Oh, get his ass.
Get his literal ass.
Your hair looks like your prostate, you piece of shit.
And by that I mean lopsided. Yeah. So his driver takes the limo to the limo garage. And at that point, he's abandoned the limo. He's now on foot. The whole movie, everyone has been saying how much he needs protection, and if he goes outside, he'll be shot on sight. It's so dangerous for him to be outside, etc. Yeah. Then, as soon as he does leave the limo, gunshots come out right next to him, and someone screams his name. So, I guess they were right.
Yeah.
And he goes inside to confront the person who's the shooter. And the shooter was Paul Giamatti with a towel on his head.
I do love Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Anytime I see him in a movie, I am happy to see him.
I feel like you don't see him too often anymore. Like, when's the last time I saw Paul Giamatti? I think he's doing more VO work lately.
More what work?
Voice acting.
Oh, voiceover. Mm-hmm. Yeah? I don't know. Paul Giamatti, hit us up.
PG. Come on the pod, baby.
I would love to have Paul Giamatti on.
Oh, gosh. Can you imagine the conversations? So, yeah, Paul Giamatti wants to murder Robert Pattinson, and you can pull that quote for your news reports. But RP is so casual about their conversation. He's pretty unfazed by the fact that this man wants to and will kill him.
He says over and over, like, this is how I'm going to be known.
Yeah.
Like, this is his purpose.
Mm-hmm. I think some of the stuff that happens in the scene with PG and RP is some of the most visually interesting of the entire movie.
Yeah, I agree with
the
that.
Composition, the room that they're in, like, the space that they occupy, the way they physically are proportioned to each other. I think it's the most visually interesting part of the whole movie to watch. Mm-hmm. And even, like, the ways, like, there's part of the time RP, like, goes behind this window and just, like, opens the blinds and starts talking to Paul Giamatti through the blinds for like no, they're like still in the same room. Like, why is he going through the blinds? You know, I think that's an interesting choice, and I thought it was interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And at one point also, there's like a porta potty in the room.
Yes.
That just like has a hole that goes down through the building, I guess. RP has this line, "Oh, holes are interesting. There are books about holes." Like, what does that even...
That's what the whole movie is like. That's it.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. God, my last note is Arpat says to him something like, you know, now is the time for a philosophical discussion between us. And I'm just like, now? Buddy, you've been doing these all day.
All
you want to
day. He
keep
loves
going?
them. Can't get enough of this stuff.
Oh my God.
Also in this part, Robert Pattinson shoots his own hand, which was interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, just like I said, getting increasingly more vulnerable and physically able to be destroyed, I guess.
Yeah.
And I do also, I mean, I mentioned that I like the compositions, but I did really like the composition of the final shots where, like, Paul Giamatti is standing behind the couch or whatever and RP in front. They hold that shot for a long time, and I just thought it looked really cool.
Yeah. Cronenberg, this movie, I don't think tarnishes his career severely in any way or makes me doubt him as a director because, you know, shots like this. Mm-hmm. Solid, like, it looked great.
I think, something positive you could say about the entire movie was that technically, besides that green screen thing that I mentioned, I think it's done very well. Like, all the shots are cool, the compositions are cool, the camera work is cool. How they use their physical space is cool.
Yes.
So I think technically it's done very well. Do we love what's going on in the story? You know, no.
Yeah, it's just... It's a swing and a miss.
Let me finish out the movie because we're so close.
Yeah.
So they build and build and build this tension between the two of them that Paul Giamatti is going to shoot him. He wants to shoot him because he wants his life to mean something, and that will mean that he means something. He says, I wanted you to heal me. I wanted you to save me. He's like putting all this weight on RP's character. So we get more and more tension. The music's building, and then we just roll credits with no climax.
Sure.
And one significant difference between the movie and the book, like I said, it was a pretty close adaptation, but one significant difference is that in the book, Ben 11, who is Paul Giamatti's character, gets his own confessional chapter after the story's conclusion, indicating his murder of RP's character well before the fact, well before the end of the story's conclusion. And the effect of this change from the book to the movie, I think, reduces Paul Giamatti's character to the same level of the other characters that we've seen throughout the story.
Yeah, I agree.
Where they only kind of exist in relation to him and not outside of that, in relation to Robert Pattinson's character. Mm-hmm. And if we would have seen that final chapter with just Ben 11 or Paul Giamatti's character, it would kind of indicate a world that exists outside of Robert Pattinson's character, which thus far to the movie, Cronenberg had strictly avoided portraying, right? Yeah, everything we've seen only exists in relation to Robert Pattinson's character. And even if he had shown the murder at the end of the movie, that also would have broken the rule. So I do understand why he didn't show the murder. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I still wish he did.
Yeah, give me the satisfaction.
I wish there was literally any payoff to this movie.
You don't even get it. Yeah, like 20 minutes in, you're like, oh yeah, he's gonna die. That's the only way this movie can really feel satisfactory, is for him to like get his comeuppance. Mm-hmm. Nope.
And also the final credits, the way that they looked was inspired by Rothko's paintings. They're basically Rothko's paintings that are going in the credits. So
cool. That
was my last note on anything that happens in the movie. Yeah, so do you have final thoughts?
Not really. I feel like I've made my point pretty well. Yeah, I feel like I've said 50% enough. Yeah.
Yeah, should we go into scoring? What do you give this out of 5?
I know I just said the stars do not correspond. It just gets 2 stars out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff to like, but overall, I just felt it was drowned in this thick, kind of arduous dialogue that really doesn't draw you in. There are movies that are all talking, and they're done well,
Yeah.
But there has to be something else behind it. Reservoir Dogs, so much talking, but you get to see blood. Progression happens, more arcs happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I guess I'm probably also gonna go 2.
Yeah.
2 and 2 Twinergy for our 2-year anniversary episode.
Hey! For our 2-year anniversary, we did a 2-star movie.
Yeah, we did. I do think that they achieved what they set out to do, right? I understand the evolution of the character and what they were trying to say with that, and even to your point of how the dialogue made you glaze over, I think even that was intentional, but I just found this movie to be so exhausting to watch. I found it an exhausting chore. It felt like 100 hours long, and I'll tell you, I sit through all kinds of shit I don't like, and I felt like this was extra unpleasant. It truly felt so long to me.
Yeah,
I kept having to pause even just to give my brain a break. It was hard to watch. It was hard.
Yes.
And I love Robert Pattinson. I love Juliette Binoche. I love a lot of the people in this movie. Their performances were good. They're great.
Yeah.
They're all great actors. But yeah, it just was rough to watch. And then to go through all that, you finally get to the end and there's no payoff. I was just like, really? I mean, all this and I get nothing for it?
Yeah. Just did not satisfy in the end.
Not at all. Yeah. So I tried to watch some other Cronenberg stuff to try and even
balance it out.
But yeah, this movie was rough, and I would say also extremely forgettable. I mean, because you don't engage with any of the dialogue. I told Kali before we started recording, I was like, I hope I can even remember what happened in this movie because it's so forgettable to me. And you hate to say it. Yeah. Would we recommend?
It is what it is. I would generally not.
No. I say no. I say solid no. There are better movies from all of them.
I can't imagine a person I would recommend this to.
If you want a better movie about communism or anti-capitalism, at least, those exist. Better movies with RP, better Cronenberg movies, better movies for all these people. Watch High Life.
There are good financial thrillers, movies about fucking Wall Street is not a bad movie. It's interesting and well-paced at least.
But
we did it.
We had some great combo on it, I think.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top tier ep, as they all are.
Oh my god. Yeah, absolutely.
Now it's time for ScreenVomit.
So in this part of the show, we go off about whatever else we've been watching, movies, shows, etc. So Kali, what you been watching?
I did not watch a lot this week.
Really?
The 2 movies I did watch, great movies, I will say. First movie, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Which one is that? Which number?
That's the first one.
Okay.
She claims to have seen them before, but does not remember any of it at all.
Well, they came out a long time ago, right?
01. Yeah.
Lindsay was 4 years old.
I'm sorry. She was born in 95. So.
Okay. Oh, my bad. She was 6 years old.
Yeah, I saw this shit, and it's very big in my childhood. Fucking love Lord of the Rings. And, at least to me, shit still holds up. I love it. Blast to watch. Yes, I'm sure a lot of that is entwined with nostalgia, watching them every day with my brother after school for a long time.
My little brother, who is your age, was obsessed when we were kids.
So cool.
So,
yeah. I loved it. And then I watched Che Part 1. It's a Che Guevara biopic starring Benicio del Toro.
Okay.
as Che Guevara, and it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who I was like, who is that? Who is that? Oh, he's done Ocean's 11, 12, 13, Aaron Brockovich, Magic Mike, Logan Lucky,
Famous.
Famous. And I tell you what, it's a good movie. It's a long movie. It's, 2 hours, and it's a lot to take in. And I don't, as a communist, I still don't know a ton about the Cuban Revolution. Or, I think I got turned off by all the Che t-shirts I saw as a kid.
Yeah.
And was just kind of like,
It had such a moment.
Yeah, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
Che Guevara, sure. But the movie is outstanding. Even not knowing a whole lot, just knowing, the two, like, all you know is Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, it still is accessible enough. And more than anything, holy shit, Steven Soderbergh is so fucking good at showing montages and editing. Like, moving things along, outstanding. Like, the montages are just like them walking through the jungle, them building a school, them, talking and drinking and smoking, but it's shot in, like, such an enticing way. Steven Soderbergh fucking rocks.
That's awesome.
What have you been watching?
Okay, wow, short one from Kali this week. Okay, so I watched a few things. I'll put out an extra one.
Go on.
Okay, so on recommendation from past guest Mike Saunders, I watched this movie, See You Next Tuesday, which is a character study type film about a poor, kind of dysfunctional family. Mainly circles around one of the daughters in the family. There's queer aspects. There's, like, a mother who's recovering from addiction. It has a pretty cool, like, escalation of events throughout the movie. And the emotional performances in the movie, outstanding. I mean, they are fully acting with their entire spirits. And so that was pretty good. See you next Tuesday.
Nice.
And then, because I am who I am, I was looking at what the people in that movie are in besides that movie.
Yep.
So I found this movie called Women Who Kill, which is another, like, independent movie that it's about these two ladies who are exes who have a murder podcast, like a true crime serial killer podcast together.
Okay, so this came out fairly recently.
Yeah, I think it's like 2016, 2018.
Sure.
I don't know, something like that. Somewhere in the late 20s.
Yeah.
So they have the podcast together and about murder, serial killers, and one of them starts dating a new girl who has some suspicious behaviors, let's just say.
Okay.
And that was, like, surprisingly funny for being, like, such an independent film. Like, they're usually hit or miss. But yeah, so that was pretty good. And I watched this movie, Big Man Japan. Have you seen this?
No, I like the title.
I think you would die. I mean,
the premise
is insane. I think it's one of the most unhinged films I've ever seen in my life. I can't decide if it is terrible or genius, but I'm leaning towards genius. It's sort of like, I mean, it's fictional, but it's shot like documentary. So I guess like mockumentary or whatever. And it's about this guy in Japan who is part of this lineage of men in Japan who can get extremely big and help defend Japan from monsters.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not animated or anything. I mean, it's real. It's live action. It's just some of the most unhinged shit I've ever seen. And I have to say, if you watch it and you get to the first monster attack and you're like, I'm turning this off, don't turn it off. You gotta keep going. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, on the list.
Okay, and it's free on Tubi, I think, so.
The ads. Okay.
Okay, and then I watched on, actually, recommendation from another past guest, Jackson Easinga, I watched Rent-A-Pal, which he talked about when he was on, but yeah, it's just like another one of those man in his 40s who lives in his mom's basement type movies, who's antisocial.
Yeah.
He gets a VHS that's like supposed to be, this guy is your friend when you watch this VHS.
Sure.
Let's just say he goes a little unhinged.
Okay, I like that.
I want to say, so it is sort of a horror movie. There are things I thought were really cool about it, and I'd like to say what those things were. However, it would be a spoiler, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil it. But let's just say there are some choices that are made that I thought were really unique and cool in this movie.
You got some Will Wheaton action in there.
Yes, there is Will Wheaton. Yeah, he plays the pal on the videotape.
Wow.
So.
Of Flubber fame.
Yeah, and more notably Star Trek. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, okay, and then I'm going to name 2 shorts real fast. So everybody knows I've been doing a short film challenge where I watch a short film every day, and I've been posting them on our IG stories every day, and I have a Google Doc in our linktree, which is in the show notes, that anybody can watch of good short movies. Short films. So, that being said, I watched 2 shorts recently that I thought were very good. Okay, one of them is a horror short called To the Boy in the Plaid Shirt by Adam Murray. One thing I think is really cool about it is that it has almost no dialogue in the entire thing, but still tells a really scary, twisted story. There's some twists going on, and it was very cool. And then secondly, I'm going to name The Altruist by Christopher Borgley, who I've mentioned Christopher Borgley several times on pod. I really like his films. It's a 3-minute short, and I just thought it was really funny. It's done really cool. It's about, it's basically him calling his friends in quarantine who have been out being bad in quarantine.
Jesus.
But it's funny. It's really funny. It's not. It's
Yeah.
It's good. The Altruist by Christopher Borgley and To the Boy in the Plaid Shirt by Adam Murray. Okay, those are two good shorts that I watched recently. Okay, and that's it for me.
Okay.
All right, so obviously follow us on Instagram and everywhere else at ScreenVomit, one word on all the things. Give us a subscribe if you haven't already on your podcast app or YouTube. We're on all the things. And leave us a rating and review on your podcast app. You can send us an email at screenvomitpod@gmail.com or tweet us with your thoughts on this movie or other movies or suggest a movie.
Hey, if you want to hear me talk about labor and unions and organizing, I got a pod called How to Fire Your Boss. It's up on all the stuff.
And next week, we'll have another special episode because, hate to say it, but it will be my birthday time.
Oh.
So
yummy.
So I picked us a movie that, so when it was Collie's birthday, we got to watch a movie that Collie loves and I hated.
Uh-huh. Well, I loved and you were wrong about.
So now it's my turn to pick something wild that Collie may or may not like that I love, which is this movie called The Ornithologist, which you can find on Amazon, Vudu, or YouTube. It is a Portuguese movie, so there will be subtitles involved. And I'd like to suggest a prime viewing vibe for this movie because I think there's a prime way to watch it, which is daytime, alone, and it's a movie you got to set up a vibe for. There's a very meditative pace, especially at the beginning. I think it's best watched alone, personally.
All right.
And also, I think, because I didn't know this going into it and it made a lot more sense, this is really stupid, but an ornithologist is a bird watcher. So that's just something you should know.
Yes. I knew that.
I did not. So, made a lot more sense once I knew that. All right. So, watch The Ornithologist and check out next week's ep. All right. And we'll see you then. Okay. Bye.
Goodbye. Don't make me talk in an Irish accent for the rest of the episode. So you can't cut that.